She became a PAP Member of Parliament in 2011 at the ripe old age of 27. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Business China, and she is the chairperson of the Government Parliamentary Committee, or GPC, for Communications and Information. Tin Pei Ling, welcome to Inconvenient Questions.
Hi, Viswa. Hi.
Hi. Let's cut to the chase, right? Your entry into politics in Singapore in 2011 was, to put it mildly, a baptism of fire. Now, what do you recall as some of the most painful moments in the election for you, 2011?
Well, first of all, it was, on hindsight, I think it was really intense. It was probably one of the darkest moments in my own life. I can laugh about it now, but it was certainly not funny at that point in time. I remember I was under a lot of stress, and almost every day I go back home and almost like, emotional breakdown every night. But then I have to tell myself tomorrow I have to, go out there and then, do it again. And it lasted for quite a while. I didn't even dare to go out unless it's going to MacPherson, unless it's, to do my groundwork.
What were you afraid of? You said you didn't even dare to go out.
Yeah, so I was afraid of people recognizing me and talking about me. Because online, anything that I post, I can attract like thousands of comments and not so friendly. So that's one. And I actually had people who taunted me in person. Like people I remember in their 40s or 50s, walking past and just chanted, I don't know what to say. And then I had people, knowing that I'm there and just started commenting about me. And so it wasn't a very pleasant feeling.
That's putting it very mildly.
Yeah.
But were you scared? Were you scared?
I wasn't scared, but I was under, I don't think I was scared, but I was under a lot of stress. There were a lot of questions in my mind, like exactly what did I do wrong? I know that there are things that I could have done better, but why is it that I got it this intensely? Rationally, I think I can understand some of the reasons why, but emotionally,
Rationally, what do you mean by you could understand the reasons?
So I mean, one thing is that I think it's also partly, to a large part, because I was youngest in PAP, and even though I had 7 years in grassroots, but people don't really see that, and so the credential part, the natural question of whether she can really understand me, whether she's able to fight for my interest, that's one. And then I think the fact that I come from the incumbent party, that would also mean higher expectations. I think that's a confluence of factor. And of course, during the at the very beginning, there were some incidents that didn't really put me on a good starting foot. So
like the Kate Spade bag.
Yeah, which was taken from my husband's Facebook account. It was a birthday present. So a lot of things were going on, and there was almost no opportunity or no real opportunity for me to come out to explain all this. And I guess also partly I didn't think at that point in time it was really necessary to come out and clarify. It was a dilemma, not knowing whether, if I clarify, would it make it worse, or would it distract from the real agenda, which is to serve? A lot of questions, and I mean the high tempo of the election also meant that you can't just dwell on those personal stuff. You just have to keep going.
And you were just 27 years old, and I mean, for me, 27 it's like 200 years ago,
No.
I mean, no, 27 years old. I mean, I'm trying to picture it. It would have been quite horrendous an experience for a 27-year-old to go into, and this is politics. This is about being elected to become a member of parliament. It's not something that you can just trivialize. Did you at any point in 2011 during the elections, did you at any point think of throwing in the towel and quitting?
Well, I think the strongest emotion that I felt was after polling. I mean, within the ward, I know we won, but that point in time, it was also during the time when we lost our unit GRC, right? And there were some comments that I contributed to that, and that really hit me.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, whether I should whether it was really me. I had a lot of self-doubt at that point in time, and so that there was this. It was quite close, but to be honest, after
Quite
putting,
close? What do you mean? Quite
as in,
close.
like, I was wondering, I was like like on the emotional, highly emotional, and really wondering, if I am really a liability to the party.
To the party and the team,
Yeah.
the
So
GRC team.
yes, and so I kept, it kept playing in my mind. But I'm thankful that the team had, remained supportive. Everyone had been supportive, and I think after a while, I rationalized and thought that, it's a very once in a lifetime opportunity to take on this position to serve. And, I did sign up to do this because there are things that I wanted to do in the community for Singapore. And so I should give it my best shot. And I mean, whatever happens till the next election, we'll talk about it when that time comes. And so, from there, I just decided that, what, politics is about people's life. My own personal feelings and reputation, or this face thing, really, I think in the big scheme of things, it's not an important thing, even though I feel hurt.
Isn't
But
that the way it panned out anyway? Because 5 years down from there, 2015 election, that was the real test for you, because you were no more part of the GRC.
yes,
MacPherson was taken out of the GRC, and it became a single member constituency, SMC. And so nobody could then say that you came in on the coattails of a minister or of an ex-PM.
yes, there is
So it was
that.
really you had to win it, right? And you had some experienced opponents on the other side. Now, but you won with 66%, almost 66% of the votes. How did you feel at that point in time?
Well, I actually felt exonerated at that point. but to a larger extent, actually, I was excited and happy, but I'm also very thankful because and this sense of gratitude, that the many parts of this. First of all, I was thankful for the residents because, from 2011 to 2015, they could have just, rejected me.
Yeah.
They didn't have to give me an opportunity, but they did. And it was wonderful that even during that 5 years, we managed to build up a lot of relationships, and that sense of family within MacPherson was, to me, very precious. Then, of course, my team. Again, they could have just rejected me because, in 2011, I was considered controversial because they thought that I was too young, and I was taking over from my predecessor who had 20 years of experience under his belt, so on and so forth. And so, with all of these, it just made me feel very grateful, and that, it also reminded me that, wow, this is hard earned. This is the trust that people has given me, and I should really, do even better and put in more effort in the years ahead.
And you did. In the 2020 election, you won with almost 72% of the votes on your side. I mean, that's a whopping victory by any standards. So
Yeah.
do you think that you have made your point loud and clear to those who didn't think much about you in 2011?
I actually don't see it that way. I To be honest, I in 2020, during this year, during the campaign, I got a bit emotional at one point because I was thinking to myself, really, I keep looking back at 2011 how I started, and then given the situation currently, I feel really grateful and fortunate that everyone really just gave me that opportunity and gave me that chance to build up that bond, that relationship. Yet last night I was doing house visits, and I met some of these makciks and pakciks because this year we couldn't have a lot of physical activities. But when we see each other again, that sense of familiarity, And although it's COVID, we did hug each other a little bit. But it's to me that connection that is most precious, and I really appreciate the chance to be able to be there for them when they are down, when they're sad, when they're happy, and help them when they are in need. And so this to me was very immeasurable. So during the GE, I was really hoping to, win back MacPherson so that I can continue this path with my residents.
So it wasn't so much about winning and proving a point. It was about an opportunity to serve again.
Yes. And I'm thankful for the team because they have never forsaken me.
When you say team, who are you referring
my
to?
My volunteers.
Your grassroots volunteers.
My grassroots, yes. Yeah, they have been with me despite all my requests to do, hey, can we do this? Can we do that?
I've heard that about you, that you're very demanding on the ground. You are a difficult person on the ground, in the sense that you have a lot of demands for the residents.
I won't say I'm difficult, but I do have higher expectations. To me, in the end, we are doing this for residents and for, anyway, it's about people's lives. So if it's something that I think it's right and it's something that we can do, then I hope that we can put in our very best to get it done. And so that's why I always tell my grassroots that I'm really thankful that they believe in the same cause and that we have stuck together throughout this whole journey. It's not easy. To do this, especially for them. They have their own careers, their own studies, and yet they decided to put aside some personal time to do this. And sometimes it's quite challenging for volunteers because, when residents face challenges, the issues that they grapple with, they can get a bit emotional.
Yes.
But volunteers just remain steadfast and just face it and try to, calm them down, find ways to help them despite all that. And again, they may not have done that, but they did it. And so for that, I'm really thankful and I appreciate them.
MacPherson has its own challenges, right? I mean, you have a particularly large population, a segment of the population that's aging. There's very specific needs. And you also have people who may not be high income earners, in this constituency. So what were some of the peculiar challenges that you faced in MacPherson?
I think we have, to be honest, I don't really think we are very different from a lot of other constituencies in Singapore. But of course, given our profile, we have a lot more seniors. And so senior related issues could be from infrastructure. How do we make it more senior friendly, more barrier free? Even a long walkway, can we have a little bit more benches? Or maybe even now, there are sometimes there are requests about having one more bus service or one more bus stop. Some things are not within our control, but we do continue to appeal. Overhead bridge lifts, which we managed to secure, so we are very happy. Then of course there are programs. How do we keep them active? How do we help them to get help or get care support, building up networks of befrienders, people who are checking on them now and then, supplying them with daily needs such as free lunch, free meals so that they are fed. How do we support in their medical expenses? So we come up with MacPherson Care Fund to alleviate part of that stress that they feel. And of course, we also have lonely elderly because with shrinking family sizes and not everyone has got reliable family members. How do we support them, making sure that they are not isolated? So checking in on them is one, having events and programs to keep them engaged is another. So
but COVID would have presented added challenges, right? Especially for senior citizens.
Indeed. So for those with family, they are still better off because then the family members will come in to check in on them. And for those who don't, then we have to rely on our networks of volunteers as well as community partners to regularly check in on them. Circuit breaker was the toughest because there were a lot of restrictions, but thankfully some of the charity or social welfare type of outreach like free meals get to continue, and then befrienders can call in on them to just make sure that they are fine. For those who are a bit more digitally advanced, because we have been pushing digital skills to awareness to
to senior
residents.
citizen.
Yes. And so for those who are a bit more advanced, they get to watch YouTube every day. Then for others, it was a little bit more challenging. So actually, because of circuit breaker, we are now also stepping up in terms of this digital readiness effort to help our seniors to get access to mobile phones, to
Right.
teach them how to even use it, so that regardless of what the situation may be, they can stay connected with their loved ones and friends. And technology, a lot of times people think that it will keep people apart. That was, I think, in the past. It's really how we make use of it. In fact, during this circuit breaker, it has shown us how technology can actually bring people together despite the trying circumstances.
And so that's been your experience with the seniors as well.
Yes, and
Bring
we're still
them
trying.
together.
Yes, we are still trying.
You clearly delivering on promises and trust are very, very important for you. This is what I'm gathering from people who've worked with you. You're very particular that you don't make a promise that you can't deliver. Now that's very laudable. And in the same vein, in your parliamentary speeches, you said we need to listen and engage our citizens actively. It's a two-way traffic. You also talked about the importance of, understanding the current shortcomings that people, the current shortcomings that we all have, to make sure that we reach out. What do you think can be done better in terms of reaching out, the two-way traffic you talked about, in listening better to the ground? What do you think can be done better? The government has been doing a lot, but what do you think can be done better?
Yes. Well, indeed, the government has been doing a lot, from Reach platform to focus group discussions to dialogues. I think they have been doing that. But, I still think that there is a huge gap of information on the ground. And to be honest, my feel is that for that last part there, the last mile there, you need one-on-one or one to small groups. And this is where we really need multipliers, people who will go out there and talk to people one-on-one, personally, to explain what the decision is, or what consideration or trade-offs are being involved. Or if anything, just to share with them what's the latest update that is happening in terms of policies.
Especially healthcare policies, CPF,
yes.
Right? It's a lot of people are confused out there,
Yeah, so indeed, and sometimes even like silver support schemes, some of these meant to do good, but it creates confusion. Like some people may mistake silver support scheme as part of the Pioneer Generation package. So these will require us to go out there to talk to them. MPs, volunteers, grassroots, all of us play a role. And it's intensive work because it's a lot of time that you have to spend to explain them in detail. But it's important because, first of all, I think when we talk about having a cohesion, social cohesion and consensus, I think the first prerequisite is to know to have the information at hand, to be informed. And so that first part of pushing out information, making sure people know what's happening is important. Making sure that the accurate information gets to people is important. So then with that, then you can have discussion. Then you can talk about the trade-off. And one thing that I think the government doesn't talk enough about is trade-off. For every decision that is made, there will be trade-off.
Why is that important to communicate?
I think it's important to communicate because, people have got different opinions. And sometimes everyone has got, pure intentions, but they may not see each other's point, and they may misinterpret each other, misunderstand each other. So even though you had made a decision, a hard decision, without self-service or self-interest, but if someone else misinterprets it, then, that trust is broken. You can't proceed from there. And it is also important to see the other person's point of view, either to refine how you do this or how you communicate, or to take in, what is feasible or valuable from there. Right. So this trade-off, the articulation of trade-off, the explaining of trade-off is important, and it's very important in engendering trust. Trust in this communication, trust in eventually when you implement it, that people know that it is actually for the good of the masses, and that even if at the fringe there are some messy areas, or that it still requires fine tuning, maybe some people happen to miss out, but then whether we can do something to help pull them in, etc., etc. That they will trust that this will be done, and not that you're just doing this for yourself, I always get left out, and then that will not be a very healthy development. So this articulation or trade-off, even coming into a consensus of what the trade-offs we should be making, I think is very important. And
so in your view, the MP plays a very critical role, because it cannot just be too high up, right? The information cannot be coming from the government, from the ministers. It's got to trickle down, and it must come from a person who the residents trust and have a relationship with. That is the MP and the grassroots leaders, right? That last mile, face-to-face interaction that you're talking about, isn't that critical?
It is, absolutely. So for example, at the weekly Meet the People session, this is where we meet a lot of residents with who need help. And some need financial assistance, some may have encountered some tension with certain policy requirements. And I think this is one of the instances where we can actually face-to-face, based on their circumstances, walk them through. Share with them what are the reasons why they may have been rejected, and then also taking that chance to explain to them the policy intent, that it is actually not against them, but why has it been done this way? And then therefore thereafter is to how can we find another way to help you solve your problem. And so this to me personally, so far that in my past years, I find this very useful. And through that process, I get to know my resident better, my resident gets to know me better, and together we get to understand the policy a bit better. And of course, for me, with that experience, that feedback, I can give a better, more grounded feedback, whether it's in Parliament or when I have a separate out of Parliament discussion with the agencies. So these are very useful information. And it's a two-way traffic as well. So I share with them, they share with me. So
that's what you meant by two-way traffic.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one instance. This is just one instance.
Yeah. Well, we unfortunately we have to wrap soon, but here comes the most important question, right? You've been in politics now for 10 years, right? What's a key lesson that you've learned about being an MP?
I think to me, the key lesson is that you always have that compassionate heart for the people. And that, at the end of the day, politics is about people's life. And if we can do something to help people, to make it a little bit easier when they face challenges, to, make it better, I think it's all worthwhile. Policies are there to serve the majority, or as best as they can, to tackle the trade-offs and deliver a general good, a public good. But even for us within the community, or even at the individual level, we can do our part to plug gaps. And so this is something that I firmly believe in. Together, we will complement each other and make things work for everyone. And because, and with that in mind, getting to know residents, having that personal connection with them is important, because then I know what their real challenges and what their anxieties are. During COVID-19, the circuit breaker, I felt it the most, because a lot of people were impacted, jobs top of mind. Thereafter is, how do I keep my family going? Bread and butter, where do I find this? And I have people who say that now I cannot work. I don't know what to do. And so this is where we came in. Whether it's to, gather the home sewers, the tailors, those small, stall type of tailors, ask them to sew reusable masks, and then paying them a little bit of allowance to tide through that period of time, so that they feel that, hey, I'm putting my skills into good use, and I'm getting a bit of allowance to get by. And then the finished product is to help the underprivileged. I thought that was wonderful. And to me, during that period of time, when we tried to get help, we actually were a lot more generous with how, we find resources, and then trying to pump in, let's not ask so many questions, just help them first. And then thereafter, when people, come back and say that, thank you in my darkest moment, you helped me. I have this lady who shared that with me, and that hit me a lot, because it really makes all of this so much more meaningful. Yeah,
and it really makes what you went through in 2011 worth it.
Indeed. Yes,
So
you're right.
we run out of time, but I want to ask you this. This is really one more final question, right?
Yes.
How have you changed as a person? How have you changed in the 11 years in politics, in the 10 years in politics? How have you changed?
Well, I think at my core, I remain the same person as I was many years ago. My values remain the same. My mission remains the same. But I think how I've changed is that I've grown more mature and more steady. At least when I answer questions with the media, I'm more steady. But I think I get a better appreciation of things. And for one, actually, when I look back at 2011, at that point in time, there were a lot of questions in my mind, and I felt, a lot of emotions, mixed emotions. But actually now when I look back, I'm actually also grateful for that period of experience. That's why I don't say I don't grudge anyone, but I am thankful because it helped me grow. It helped me to become who I am today. I'm much stronger. I would like to think so. And there's a certain I won't say zeness, but there's a certain calm in me, and it also strengthens my resolve to want to serve people. And I've seen how this has been. It's not just meaningful, but that if you have the right heart and if you put in the effort, people will see that. And so to anyone who's out there, having your own battles in life, I just want to share that no matter how difficult it is right now, it will be over. Just stay the course and hang in there.
Well, Tin Pei Ling, you have definitely matured a lot. But my request is this: remain forever young.
Okay, I try.
That's your magic. Tin Pei Ling, thank you very much for joining us on Inconvenient Questions.
Thank you,
And all the
Vishwa.
best.
Thank
All the
you.
best.
You take care.
Take care.